That's what we're trying to do with a lot of the games that we talk to. How can we bring more transactions into the Web3 environment?
Hi guys, welcome back to Project Spotlight. Today we're really pleased to have with us Roy Hui, who is the CEO of LightLink, the gasless blockchain network for enterprises, dApps, and supporting millions of users. It's one of the top 10 in transaction volume among roll-ups, making some increasing headway into the gaming and enterprise space. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you for having me.
So it'd be great just for our audience to hear a bit of background about LightLink. How the project got to this stage, and what was the initial sort of inspiration and how you launched?
Yeah, most certainly. We started our builder capability in Web3 since 2017 as a solutions capability. We've built a lot of different projects over the years, from digital payment systems to exchanges to asset tokenization capabilities. So, over the years, we've done quite a few different NFT projects as well. So helping projects like Australian Open, Elvis Presley, USGA, interesting non-fungible technology to see the light of the day. And we've worked with a lot of different enterprise customers in banking, in logistics, in media companies. They typically ask me a very simple question that we're able to answer very easily in Web2. How much are my infrastructure costs going to be in 3 months from now? We'll typically do a proof of concept on Polygon or Ethereum, and we will have $10 or $100 in transaction fees. But for us to scale, for the project to scale to tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of users, it just becomes really, really difficult. And one of the answers that we had back then, given the tools that we had, was enterprise blockchains. But that particular set of technology was almost like a disconnected economy. It was disconnected from all the innovations on layer 2, layer 1s. From the economy or the fantastic economic activities that happen on public blockchains. So we really struggled with that unpredictability, but also disconnectedness, right? So in 2021, when we started working with a very large customer based in Thailand, we decided to actually layer 2s are a great idea. A lot of people were talking about the technology, so we rolled up our sleeves and decided to give this a go. So it was really to answer a fundamental question that I had from CTOs and CEOs. How much are the transaction fees going to be in 3 months of time or 6 months of time?
Are there a couple of case studies you could talk us through to sort of illustrate, I guess, what attracts businesses, developers, and users to projects that are built on LightLink? There seems to be quite a wide variety of projects that you've got on there, from finance, NFTs, metaverse, gaming, and so on. So it'd be great just to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, most certainly. One of the first games that were deployed on LightLink is called the Red Village. We were the tech capability behind the scenes to develop this product, and we struggled a lot with public blockchains because every time when there is a gas spike, the entire system would essentially shut down. And I, as the CEO, get hundreds of emails when the systems go down, every single day. And it's really bad, right? Because users are trying to play the game. All they wanted to do is, call a smart contract, send USDT or send ETH and play this game. And the lack of capability these chains were able to offer just prevented business being run. So we decided to experiment with a different capability. Essentially, assets remain on layer 1, but a lot of the execution and transactions occurred on layer 2. And that was one of the first projects that we deployed in private public mainnet. And that immediately added a lot of user satisfaction because the assets remained where they are because there are NFTs that you can still view on OpenSea, but a lot of the transactions were happening on the layer 2. You transfer funds almost into a bridge on the layer 1, and then all the execution and all the gaming transactions occurred on layer 2. And we were trying to scale this capability and share this concept with a lot of people that we talk to. It maybe still make a lot of sense to have your digital assets on Ethereum, on Polygon, on Binance, or many other very well trusted public blockchains with very large liquidity, with a lot of interoperability. But the assets can actually point to a metadata on layer 2. You can transact on layer 2. You can do lots of high frequency gaming requirements on the layer 2. So that's the idea we wanted to share, and we're helping quite a few of our gaming studios friends to execute.
I just wanted to get a kind of a bit more of an explanation on that then. So if I'm a game with assets on a layer 1, or so let's say a side chain like Polygon, and you're saying that if I want to have high transaction throughput, I can do that on your chain. So are you a kind of side chain to a side chain, or are you an actual layer 2 on Ethereum? And then tell us a little bit about how it works, how decentralized you are, nodes, and and do you have your own kind of, do you use ETH for gas, or what's going on there?
Sure thing. I'll address the second question first. So we're a Ethereum-based EVM compatible layer 2 network. We operate more like a Validium type of approach. So transactions are submitted to the LightLink blockchain. We process those transactions. We store those transactions on a data availability layer. Right now we're using Celestia. Previously we were using IPFS, and then every once so often we calculate a proof and we post that proof on Ethereum. So technically speaking, I think we're a layer 2. Vitalik has actually more recently classified different types of layer 2s, and we reside more in the Validium type of category, as opposed to optimism, which is rolling every single transaction onto layer 1, and that becomes a really expensive exercise, right? So in our instance, because we store data elsewhere, because layer 1 data is very expensive, and we store it in a place that we can trust and prove and verify, Celestia, we only store proofs on layer 1. So that transaction fee now becomes really, really low. And therefore we can pass on that transaction fee to our users. So LightLink essentially has 2 gas modes. One is a public mode where anybody can deploy a smart contract, call a smart contract, just like you would on a layer 2, and that native gas token is in ETH. It's really familiar. We did that deliberately to lower the barrier of entry so anybody can participate. Now in the enterprise mode, that smart contract you have deployed previously would be toggled to a gasless mode. And the gaming studio or a financial institution will engage us and pay their monthly fee in a more predictable manner in fiat. So they know exactly what they're going to get, and there's a lot of certainty in the throughput and latency, and that smart contract is now enterprise ready. So when users are interacting with that smart contract, it becomes a gasless experience. So in that analogy, if you have USDT as an example and Tether decide to make their USDT smart contract gasless, you can send USDT and receive USDT without the need of a native token, without Ether or Matic or BNB, right? So it becomes a really a much better user experience, and it can map to a lot of real world experiences, right? Like you can go to a coffee shop and conduct a payment, and you don't need a native token for that transaction to happen. And people who are facilitating this transaction, namely Tether, can have a more predictable capacity and a monthly fee incurred for that capacity. I was talking about layer 1 pointing to layer 2 assets. We are a layer 2. Layer 1, I was saying earlier, still have a lot of interoperability, liquidity, and a lot of trust, right? But when you look at different assets, sometimes it's not a pure layer 1 asset. Take NFTs as an example. NFTs point to an external data source that describes what the NFT is, right? The record exists on layer 1, but the definition of that asset exists elsewhere. A lot of people use IPFS or Artweave or more dynamically Amazon S3. But you can actually point to other sources of data, and if we believe in blockchain and trust blockchain and think it's something that we should work with, it actually makes a lot of sense to point layer 1 to layer 2 data. So you have all the trust and smart contract transparency and composability of layer 2s, and I haven't seen a lot of that concept to be explored a lot in the public domain, and something that we're definitely really keen on doing more of.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you could essentially have an NFT on a layer 1, say a Bored Ape, that points to the picture in IPFS or whatever that is. And so what you're suggesting is that perhaps we could create some repository where it points to the same picture on maybe lots of different layer 2s, and therefore and then on the layer 2 itself you could have that NFT there which points to that same picture just on its native chain.
Sure. When you look at a NFT, there are many other things that describe the NFT. It might be a picture, right? But you also have metadata. So in the context of gaming, metadata could be what level you are, what experience points you have, what badges you have, what achievements you've made, so on and so forth, right? So in the past, developers pointed to a database, to a AWS asset that resides on a database. And that sort of defeats the purpose of bringing all of this transaction on chain and then pointing to something that people can manipulate or obfuscate, right? So by pointing to a layer 2 asset, not only gives you a dynamic capability, reduced cost, but it also gives you programmatic, transparent programmatic characteristics. So you can go every time you get 100 XP, you level up.
I see. Yeah, sounds cool.
It'd be good to hear more about at what stage you are in terms of go to market traction, and what your approach to that has been. Because as I said before, there's quite a wide variety of different sorts of projects on there, which from a business development or developer support perspective can get quite complex. And also, it'd be good to hear a little bit about the partnership with Animoca that you've recently announced.
We've been in public mainnet since October 23. We've been building for a very long time, and also built on many years of our technical foundations, all the way back to 2017. We've also not only been building technology, but also partnerships. So a lot of people that we work with are friends of ours during the first bull run, right? From people that we've done business for decades. So a lot of that is hard to create immediately or displace. So we've been in public mainnet. We've seen a steady growth of connector wallets. I think last time I checked, we have about 380,000 connector wallets. We process about 120,000 transactions every day. And it's different types of transactions, right? Because maybe right now layer 2s are not the most active NFT marketplaces. And it's probably because most of the people still recognize layer 1 or Ethereum being the most trusted and most interoperable place. So if I want to buy a digital asset, it should probably reside there. But we're seeing a lot more other utility, like the one that I just described. I can issue points, I should issue records to indicate I've completed this game, and many other things that makes the Web3 world a little bit better, because it's a little bit more transparent, a little bit more trusted, and a little bit more composable, right? So we're seeing different types of transactions, and that's why we see a very large volume of them. And if we are on L2Beat, we will probably be like the eighth most active blockchain by transactional volume. And that's something we're working on actually. And also to address the earlier point, with one of the later, more recent release that we did, we are a little bit more decentralized than previous. So every single transaction is rolled onto Celestia, our proofs on Ethereum, and anybody in the world can actually challenge the proofs that we put forward, and we'll actually roll the chain back if it's proved to be invalid. So that piece of technology is really cool, and it really talks about the need for decentralization and to establish trust. So we've been building, we've been making friends, we've been doing this 2017, and I was saying earlier, we have a very large client, a corporate partner based in Asia, based in Thailand, and they are one of the largest group of companies in the region. And that's probably one of our key advantages in working with a very large conglomerate, that we're able to bring media titles in the media companies that they own, or building virtual worlds because they want to bring a lot of real estate or commercial exercise to a digital sphere. So we try to establish meaningful partnerships that can help us to do more things. And Animoca is a very similar example. They're one of the largest players in Web3, and I believe we should do more things in Web3. We're seeing a lot of games that are using layer 1 as their PFPs, or a right to play a game, or a token to provide incentives. But I think XP or badges or achievements or leveling information should all be online too. It should be on chain as well. And that's what we're trying to do with a lot of the games that we talk to. How can we bring more transactions into the Web3 environment? Animoca Brands has been really good. We have quite a few of their games on LightLink, and we're definitely keen to do more.
Excellent. And so the partnership with Animoca is mainly based around supporting their games from a kind of layer 2 perspective, in terms of the games run on your chain?
Yeah, there are a few different objectives. For example, token advisory, explore ways to go to market together, as well as a business development partnership in terms of how can we help portfolio companies within Animoca Brands to do Web3 a little bit better. And at the moment, we currently have an airdrop campaign, and if you're a participant to the Mochaverse world, we would give you higher points for some of the activities you conduct on LightLink.
Cool. So just for some of the audience, just explain that a little bit and how they can get involved in that then. So if in Mochaverse they need to, presumably they can access LightLink network through MetaMask. That's just chain ID, etc. Load that in, go on the Mochaverse, and then complete various tasks. Is that in Zeely, or is it in on your website? Where can they find that?
Yeah, we use Galaxy as the questing platform. I think the quickest way to get to there is search for Galaxy and LightLink, or just go to our Twitter X profile, and there's a lot of information there. The current campaign is about conducting exercises on LightLink and verify that you are a holder of a Mochaverse asset, and therefore we'll give you the points. And there are plenty more activities to come.
Excellent. So keep your eye on that then for all the airdrop hunters out there. It's sounding to me like your kind of USP is really that you are the cheapest, fastest layer 2 on Ethereum. Would that be kind of, in your mind, is that where you're positioning yourselves? And is it particularly, it also sounds like that's for gaming is a priority here. And I know that a kind of Binance are doing something with their own chain. And I think there's probably the option on Optimism to create your own roll-ups there as well. So how do you kind of see yourself fitting in the market compared to some of those?
Yeah, you're right, Rich. It's a fairly crowded space. Simply by doing things cheaper and faster isn't good enough, right? I think that was the message back in 2017. My chain has this TPS and this transaction speed,
Yeah.
right? So doing this in 2024 certainly would allow us, won't be the only competitive edge. I think that's a foundation, that's a must, right? So for you to build a layer two, you have to have these characteristics, and everything else are things on top, right? But if you're building a layer one today that has very low latency, very small transaction speed, or very high cost, forget about it. I think these are just the fundamentals. So our key advantage, I think our enterprise mode is pretty cool because it gives a predictable gas model. It's not about less fees, but more about predictability in fees, right? So if you want to run a public transportation system, a ticketing app, as an example, you kind of want to see, my transaction fees are going to cost me $10,000 a month for the next 6 months, right? And it will allow 100,000 people to ride the bus every day. You kind of want that certainty. And our differentiation is, I don't think there are many blockchains that can offer this capability, that predictability in gas costs. And on the other side, it's a gasless experience. And if we want true scalability, we really need that in the Web3 world. Asking mom and dads to go KYC and go on the exchange and buy a native token so they can use a ticket, like an NFT ticketing, that definitely won't fly as well. So for us to have that massive reach, we need the infrastructure. And at the same time, we are working on really interesting deals. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, also you can see what kind of deals that we're working on. And it's all the same direction, right? It's a enterprise focused. It's an infrastructure to bring more users into the Web3 world, and it's about adding value. So I also started with I see Asia as a almost a geographic differentiation. Maybe in other areas in the US you might have base, and in other areas of the world you have different blockchains, but I want to play to the advantage that we have very strong partnerships in Asia, and we want to make the most out of it. Previously, the enterprise chains that we were operating were silos, and we had projects on layer ones, and they all sort of worked very disconnected with each other. The point of LightLink as a layer 2 configuration is we're combining all of those activities on the same chain. So you have these enterprise projects, there might be ticketing, it might be gaming, it might be payments, but you have a whole Web3 ecosystem that's happening in the same time on the same chain. So theoretically, if you have a payments app, you can opening up borrowing or earning better interest capabilities within the app fairly easily because they exist on the same chain. You just call this DEX or a lending protocol, right? So that's what we're hoping to unlock, right? You have a lot of enterprise usage, and that would bring a lot more users into this space with innovations in Web3.
Just quickly, typically, what is a transaction cost on LightLink currently?
At the moment, it's about a third of a cent.
So something that would cost me $1 or maybe half a dollar on Arbitrum would cost what? How much on LightLink?
Less than a cent.
Less than a cent. Wow. Okay, that is cheap.
Yeah, but actually, that's not the reason to use LightLink, right? I think for you to conduct that activity on Arbitrum, it's because there are assets there, there are projects there. It's not only for the transaction cost. And I don't think we can weighing purely by transaction costs alone. It has to be something that you care about. It has to be a brand that you have a strong affinity with or you aspire to. Or it could be like a complete transparent exercise that you don't even know it's done on chain. So there has to be a reason for you to switch to a different chain.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Roy, just thank you very much for walking us through LightLink. Is there some things that some sort of leaving comments that you would like to give to the audience? Some things that you're perhaps excited about that's coming up shortly in the future on LightLink that you'd like people to test out or make note of?
Yeah, most certainly. Our TGE just around the corner. We are doing a LBP type of offering on Fjord, and I actually see a lot of projects utilizing the platform, and I'm really excited about the activities that we'll be doing around them. In terms of you might start with an LBP, you might end with something else, and it's a
And just for the audience, an LBP is a liquidity bootstrapping protocol, right? So it's a kind of Dutch auction on Fjord.
Yeah, it's all about fair pricing for the community. Anybody can participate. You don't need to have a entry criteria to participate in our token launch, but it might be it's very price supply and demand driven. So it has a lot of fairness built into the protocol. And we're hoping to do that sooner than later.
But no dates for TG. Are we talking weeks or months or
Weeks?
Weeks. Okay, excellent.
Okay, yeah, good to hear. Well, thanks, Roy. It's been great to have you with us. Thanks so much for sharing all the interesting stories about LightLink.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for inviting me to come and have a brief chat. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks a lot.
It's been great chatting. Take care.